Hello, humans, and welcome back to another episode of RD2H Road to Fucking Happiness. This week is a very exciting episode for me because it is the first week that one of you guys requested me to talk about something, which you have no idea how much that means to me and how much I appreciate that. And with that, this week we are going to be talking about getting over your ex, as you fucking should, babe. And I just want to say that you asked and I fucking delivered because this might be a longer episode than usual, but I have so much more information to give you guys on getting over your ex because, dude, it is possible. Trust me. So, jumping right into the episode as I always do, the first thing that I want to talk about is how love is literally a fucking drug, guys. Okay, like Kesha has that song that's like, "Your love is my drug." And she's not fucking lying. Love is a drug. It is a substance in your brain. It is a increase of dopamine. It is so many things that it takes like literal rehab to get over. It takes a detox. And, as you guys know, if you listen to my podcast, one of my biggest heartbreaks was somebody just walking out on me. Like, it was like a 3-year relationship, and they just were like, one night, they were like, bye, and they just walked the fuck out. And I had too much self-respect for myself, and I was not going to put up with that. So even though I cared about them and I loved them and it hurt me, I did not respond to them. I did not text them. But that dopamine, like, not dopamine withdrawal, but just the withdrawal of a love connection, it's rehab. It is literally like detoxing from a fucking drug. It's insane. And biologically, I don't understand why it hurts us so much, and I don't understand why your body literally goes through withdrawals. Like, it's not just a mental thing. Trust me, you're not the only one. Like, breaking up with someone, moving on from a relationship, it physically has effects on you. It affects you physically, which biologically I don't even think makes fucking sense because, as you know, humans, we're animals, and how is that a survival instinct we have? Why is my body physically in withdrawals and in pain off of a relationship, off something that should be mental? I don't understand how that helps our survival, but that's what you deal with. You deal with actual pain withdrawals. You deal with that heartache. Like, it physically hurts. And so it's a withdrawal. And you need to remember that as you're going through the withdrawals, that every time that you respond to them, every time that you text them, every time that you check their Instagram to see if they've updated anything, every time that you check in to see what they're doing in their life, every time that you allow yourself to kind of get a little bit of that dopamine hit or a little bit of that drug, you are preventing and prolonging yourself from actually healing from it. It takes fully blocking out that person from your life. You have to block them out. And think of it as a drug. Like, I can't express to you enough that love is a drug. And if you were quitting nicotine or quitting a hard drug or quitting whatever, you could go a week without that, like, nicotine. I'm going to use nicotine as an example. You can go like a week without nicotine, and the withdrawals get a little bit better. You get a little bit better. It's a little bit easier to get through the day. And then you cave and you hit nicotine, and all of a sudden you're back on fucking day one. It's back to the start. It's back to the awful cravings. It's back to what you had just fought to get away from because you hit the nicotine, because you relapsed. And so with relationships, unfortunately, it's the same thing. Every single time that you decide to respond to their text message, every single time that you decide to look them up on Instagram, every single time that you decide to see what they're doing in their life, every time you look at pictures from the past, you are hitting the nicotine again. You are relapsing. And in order for you to get through with the withdrawals, you have to cut them out of your life. And it's hard, trust me. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is what it takes to really get over somebody. Just completely not allowing yourself to relapse on that drug. And going into that, why is it a drug? Why are we so connected to people that hurt us? Why are we so willing to go back to situations that no longer serve us? Why are we willing to deal with relationships that we know are not in our best interest? And in my opinion, it's a trauma bond. And we're going to get into trauma bonds, my guys, because them bitches, they're real. They're real. I'll tell you that. And so basically, when you're in a relationship for a long time and when you're like in love with somebody and you care about somebody and you go through that back and forth, you're in a trauma bond. And what happens with a trauma bond is that you guys are both, whether it be you've both experienced a shitty situation and you've both experienced, only you two have experienced that shitty situation, you think that that's the only person in the world that really truly knows you. You think that's the only person that understands you on a level that you've kind of made up in your head. Because let's be honest, guys, nobody in this world truly understands you. Nobody in this world really, absolutely down to the core, knows who you are besides you. And even sometimes you don't know who you are. It takes the work, it takes being alone, it takes putting in the effort to really figure out who you are. And so when you're in a relationship and you have trauma bonds, the trauma bonds are for one of two reasons. The first reason is that you guys both experienced a shitty situation and you feel that nobody else in your life has experienced that same situation or understands what you've gone through. And so you don't want to let go of that person because you don't want that feeling of nobody knowing who you are, of nobody understanding you. The second form of trauma bond is basically kind of the same idea, that you guys have put each other through so much pain and you guys have put each other through so much heartbreak and so many different circumstances that this is a part of your life that you have now accepted, you have grown into, and that you are holding on to for dear fucking life. And you don't know what's coming next, and that's scary. And this is the only person that you feel understands that and understands you and knows what you've been through with them and what you guys have been through together. That is not healthy. That is a fucking trauma bond. You need to let that shit go. You need to understand that in reality, the only person that is going to understand you and the only person that needs to know what you've been through in life is you. And holding on to these situations that you've outgrown and these situations that are no longer serving you is not going to benefit you in the long run. It's not going to benefit you at all. And in fact, it's going to hold you back. It's going to prevent you from growing because you're stuck in this trauma bond, in this mindset of this person. And with that, again, I'm going to go into the idea of using relationships as self-harm. I'm telling you guys, I am hitting it on the nose with this fucking episode. Like, you ask and you shall fucking receive. And so self-harm is what we use for relationships too. And I saw a TikTok that explained it so fucking perfectly. It said relationships are the only socially acceptable form of self-harm. Because, like, think about it. If you're gonna go, physically harm yourself or starve yourself or do things that are obviously self-harm, society looks against that. Somebody in your family is going to tell you, they're going to tell you to stop. But unconsciously, we use relationships as a form of self-harm. We use relationships because we don't feel that, whether it be unconscious or consciously, that we're worth something, that we have value, that we are better than the situation or the person that is currently treating us the way that they are. And we stay in relationships that do not benefit us, that do not allow us to grow, because it is a form of fucking self-harm. And when you recognize that you deserve more than what you are currently receiving, you stop fucking allowing yourself to deal with those kind of people, deal with those relationships, because you are using it as a form of self-harm. You are using it as a way to, like, validate yourself, as a way to say, this is all I'm gonna get, or this is all I deserve, or things cannot get better. But there's 8 billion people in the world, babe, and I promise you that there is somebody out there that is better. And if you can't find somebody out there that is better, make yourself better. Get into a relationship with yourself. Stop clinging on to these trauma bonds. Stop clinging on to this form of self-harm. Stop clinging on to these relationships that don't serve you, and make yourself a priority in your life. I mean, that is the best thing that you can do, because you can chase people throughout the world. You can chase relationship after relationship to find that validation that you're looking for, to find that inherent love or that feeling of being safe that comes with being in a relationship. But you're sacrificing key parts of yourself. You're sacrificing your values. You're sacrificing your self-worth. You're sacrificing your respect when you stay with people that don't treat you right. When you stay with people that aren't allowing you to fucking grow. Going with that, You have to let yourself feel the pain of a breakup. And what I mean by that is do not run and jump into another relationship. Do not run and go to the club. 99% of people in the club are fucking depressed. And they're, a functioning addict, they're functioning addicts. They're functioning depressants. You know what I mean? So they're going to the club every day. They're looking like they're living their best fucking life. And I was there before. I know, trust me, been there, done that shit. They're looking like they're living their best fucking life. They're looking like they are just living in the moment. This is how it is when you're young, going to the club, live, laugh, love, whatever. That's not actually what they're doing. 99% of those fucking people in the club are depressed and trying to avoid their problems by, immediate satisfaction. They're not willing to get delayed gratification by actually doing the work on themselves. And so they go to the clubs, they drink, they smoke, they do whatever. And you can do all of that shit like on a healthy basis. But when you're doing it every single weekend, especially after a breakup, let's not lie to ourselves. Let's not pretend it's something that it's not. You are avoiding your feelings. You are avoiding the shit that's actually going on in your life because it's too painful to sit and actually feel it. So you drown yourself in drinks, alcohol, club music, whatever it may be. And that's just not going to work in the long run. If you want to get to where you want to be, if you want to find peace, happiness, fulfillment in your life, that's just not going to work. I'm sorry. It's the easy way out, and that's why most of us take it. But if you want to do something different in this life, if you want to be better, you have to take the hard route, unfortunately. The hard route is the only way out. Hard route is the only way out, period. Because you have to be able to feel your emotions. And that's something I've talked about in the podcast throughout episodes on episodes on episodes, is you have to feel it, not suppress it. You have to let yourself mourn. You have to let yourself be at that low spot. You have to let yourself hit fucking rock bottom. You have to. That's the only way up, is down. Like, you have to process those emotions and feel it. And so the biggest advice that I could say is do not be a serial dater. Do not be a serial dater. That is the worst thing that you could do for yourself. And you're preventing yourself from actually finding someone that meets your own interests, that actually sees you for you, that is supposed to be in your life, because you're willing to take anybody. You're willing to take anybody that gives you attention because you don't want to actually face yourself. And it's easier to throw all of your insecurities and your problems onto somebody else's lap than it is to actually sort it out yourself. But when you sort it out yourself is the only way that you can actually have a clear understanding of what you're working with and who you are. So my best advice, if you're going through a breakup right now, is to let yourself be in a room by yourself and let yourself feel that pain. Let yourself mourn. Let yourself go through that really tough period in your life and know that it's gonna pass. Everything fucking passes. The ups in our lives pass. The downs in our lives pass. Everything passes. And you can't avoid it. You can't avoid going through a hard time in your life. You can't avoid heartbreaks. You can't avoid losses. You can't avoid them. So the sooner in your life that you realize that you can't avoid them and you start to actually embrace them and start to decide that, I may be at a really shitty place in life right now and things may not be working out for me, but I'm just going to accept it for what it is right now and do my best with the circumstances that I'm given, the easier it is every single time that you get to a low point in your life, because there is no avoiding those low points. It's happening to you right now, and it's going to happen again sometime in the future. But life doesn't get easier. We get better at handling life. We get better at dealing with life. So the better that you can accept those low points in life, and the better that you can just realize that the negative emotions that we have are a part of living. It's a part of growth. It's a part of being a better person. It's a part of getting to that better version of yourself. And rather than every time you have those negative emotions, whether it be heartbreak, whether it be betrayal, whether it be rejection, instead of pushing them away, learn to embrace them. And that makes all the fucking difference. It really does. Another point on breaking up with people, or people breaking up with you, is self-respect. Like, it is, if you don't have respect for yourself, how can you expect other people to respect you? If you don't inherently hold yourself to a high standard and have that idea in your head that you are worth something, that you are somebody, that you give your energy out to people and you expect to receive that same energy back and you don't, and then when that happens, you cut them the fuck off. If you don't have respect for yourself, nobody else in life is going to respect you. Because even when you have respect for yourself, people look at it as a threat. They look at it as intimidation. They look at it as something that is negative because they're projecting their own insecurities onto you because they don't have that self-respect for themselves. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all searching for, that inherent well-being, that idea that we are worth something, that value within ourselves. And with relationships, going back in the idea of self-harm, we're constantly looking for that validation in other people because we don't feel it in ourselves. We don't have that inner work done or that value within ourselves. So we're constantly trying to get somebody else to validate the idea that we're worth something, that we are somebody. But that's fucking bullshit, because if you are somebody, you are worth something. You provide value. I promise you, I've never met somebody who has no value in this life. So with that, it's like when somebody does you dirty, no matter how much you love them, it's about principle. It's about standing on fucking business. It's about what were their intentions towards me when they did that? And is that somebody that I want in my life? Is that something that I'm going to be willing to take for over and over again? And remember, once somebody does something shitty to you and they take a little bit of your self-respect and they realize that you're going to tolerate it, now they have an understanding that you're willing to tolerate it. Now they have an understanding that they can do it to you again and you'll forgive them. So I used to try this thing where I would communicate, and I would tell them this is what bothered me and you acted like this, and try to get to the root of the issue so that I could keep them in my life because I love them so much, and try to get them to not treat me like that anymore. But that doesn't work, because the fact that you're still there, the fact that they were able to do that to you and you're still there, was enough validation in their head that they can do it to you again and that you'll still be there. And they're not going to believe you that you'll walk the fuck out until you walk the fuck out. Every single time, every single person in my life, I have given them a warning. I've been like, this is who I am. This is what I'll tolerate. If you cross this line, I swear to God, I will not allow it. You will not be in my life anymore. And every single time, I'm like, fuck around and find out. Fuck around and find out. I swear to God, fuck around and find out. And they never believe me. None of them. They never fucking believe me. They always have to fuck around and find out. And it's like, now both of us are hurt. Now both of us have to lose something in our life. It's like, why couldn't you have just listened to me when I told you that I was going to stand on business? And now both of us have to go through losing somebody in our life, and both of us are in pain because you had to fuck around and find out. But standing on that, standing on your values, is so fucking important. Once somebody crosses that boundary, once they cross over and step over a line that you clearly drew in the sand and you clearly said, do not do this or else you're going to find out. When they cross that line, when they cross that boundary, they're done. They're done. There is no looking back, because they have now showed you their true intentions. They have now showed you who they really are. They've showed you what they're willing to do to you. And you don't want people in your life who are going to hurt you and do things that hurt you, even though they know that it's going to hurt you. That is just you setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up with the wrong people in your life because they're willing to hurt you and they're not even going to think fucking twice about it. And if they're in the point of development, because this is a case too, where that's just how they were taught and that's just how they operate and they don't even realize they're hurting you, you're not their mother, babe. That's not on you. That's not on you. And that's something I learned too. It's not on you to teach them how to be a good fucking human being. It's not on you to teach them how to be an adult. It's not on you to teach them how to treat people or how to be a good boyfriend or how to be a good partner. That's not your fucking job. If they're not doing it for you, if they're not treating you right, on to the motherfucking next. And it's painful. I'm not going to act like it's not painful. I'm not going to act and pretend like it is the easiest thing in the world. But it gets easier and you get more self-respect for yourself and you get more validation from yourself, which is the only validation in this world that actually fucking matters and makes a difference. When you draw that line in the sand and you don't allow people to cross your boundaries. When you set those boundaries up and you do not allow them to cross them, that's what builds your self-worth. That's what builds your self-love. It's self-love. We like to sit here and we like to say, like, it's looking in the fucking mirror and saying, I am worthy, I am worthy. Like, no. It is standing on your values and it is standing on your principles. And the more and more that you stand on your values and principles, the more that you gain that self-love, the more that you gain that respect for yourself, because you know who the fuck you are and what you're going to put up with. And people are constantly going to try to push your boundaries. They're constantly going to try to do you dirty. They're constantly going to see if that you'll tolerate that disrespect, if you'll come back. But every single time that you come back, you validate them. You allow them to treat you like that. And realize that the power is yours. You have all of the power in your own life, in your relationships, and everything that you do. And if you're willing to give that power away, then you're making yourself smaller for somebody else to be existent in your life. And anybody that is in your life should only be adding to your life. You should not have to make yourself smaller for any relationship, for any man, for any friendship. You should not have to dim down your light. Anybody in your life should be only adding overflow to your cup. They should not be the water in your cup. You know what I mean? So with that, it's like, have enough self-respect for yourself and have enough love for yourself and your future self to say that if you treated me like this, and if you're willing to walk out on me, and if you're willing to put me in such a bad mental state, then you just simply aren't somebody that deserves my attention, that deserves to be in my life. And your attention is the power, babe. Your attention is the power. That person in your life is only special because you, in your mind, decided that they were special. They are only worth something in your reality because you decided they are worth something. Other than that, they are just another fucking sim. They are just another fucking person walking on this earth. They have no value other than the value that you placed onto them, because this is your reality. Everybody else is just fucking living in it. So if you decide to take back your power, your attention, if you decide, this is not somebody that I want to give my power to, this is not somebody that I want to give my attention to, all of a sudden, they don't have any power over you. They only have the power over you that you decide to give them. As soon as you stop fucking caring, what can that person do that can affect you? Absolutely nothing. You are the power. It is all within you. It is your mindset that gives them the power to treat you like shit, that gives them the power to do you dirty, that gives them the power to cross your boundaries. It is all your attention. You need to take your attention off of them. You need to detox from that. You need to let yourself, whether it be deleting all social medias, blocking their fucking number, block their fucking number, change their name to something that's like embarrassing, that like literally reminds you, like in your phone, change their contact to something that reminds you why they're such a piece of shit. Like, for example, my ex-boyfriend that walked out on me just one night was like, I'm done and I'm walking out and I never want to see you again. He obviously reached out because they always circle back around, they always try to come back, and that's just how life goes. Don't fall for it. Do not even respond to their text. If they try to circle back, do not even respond to their text. Don't give them that validation. Don't give them that power over you. But when he reached out to me, his name in my contact was Milkman. And I think this is so fucking funny, so I'm going to share it. But so he walked out on me. Like, just literally one night was like, oh, our 3-year relationship, bye. Like, just literally left. And so I have him in my phone as Milkman because he went to go get fucking milk and never came back. Never came back. And so I have him in my phone as Milkman. And I literally, eventually, I don't even think about it. I just think it's really fucking funny because that's exactly what he did. He said, I'm going to go to the store and get milk. Never came back. And, that fucking happens. But to allow him to do that to me, like the day that he walked out, guys, I remember I was in the same living room that I'm in right now. And I looked at him and I was so heartbroken. And I looked at him and I was like, don't do this. Like, I love you. Like, please don't do this. And I was in a trauma bond with him. I was really connected to him. And it broke my heart. And I stood on business, though. When he walked out, he was like, I'm doing this for both of us. I'm doing this so that we can grow and so we could come back together one day and so that we can be better as people and better in our relationship. I'm doing this for us. Like, I'll be back. And I looked at him and I said, dude, if you walk out that door right now, If you fucking walk out that door right now, you will never see me again. You will never ever see me again. That is it. This is your decision right now to either stay and like have a conversation about this. But if you walk out the door, that's it. That's my boundary. That's my line in the sand. I won't do it. And he walked out the door. And it broke me. Absolutely broke me. I can't even fucking deny that. But I will be damned if I go back to a relationship with somebody that was willing to walk out on me, with somebody that was willing to see me on my hands and knees begging and still walk out. That's not somebody that I want to be with. That's not somebody that I like should love. That's not somebody that, is going to provide me with the things that I need in life. And thank God that I was in a position where I think I was 20 and I didn't have any kids and I was, still pretty independent. But imagine getting back with that person. Imagine getting back with that person and you make it work somehow, God forbid. And a couple years down the line, now you have kids. Now you have actual responsibilities. Now you have things going on with your life and they do the same fucking thing and they just walk out on you. Imagine that. Now not only are they walking out on you, but now they're walking out on you while leaving you with little fucking human beings that look like them. Fuck that. Fuck that. And so if you've been walked out on and that is something that you've dealt with, think about that. Think about having little fucking human rugrats that look exactly like your fucking ex, and he did the same thing. He walks out on you, but now he's leaving you with kids. Because if they're willing to walk out on you once, babe, they're gonna do it again. If they're willing to hurt you in that kind of way, babe, they will do it again. They have now shown their true character, and it is time to move on. Going back on also running back to your ex and running back to those relationships that no longer serve you. You're running back to them because of the familiarity that is with that chapter of your life. Yes, the relationship might be painful. Yes, the relationship might hurt you. It might put you down. It might cause you to feel shitty sometimes, but there's also good times in it. And like, that's with any relationship, right? But the good needs to outweigh the bad in a healthy relationship. And it's hard to judge that scale, hard to judge whether the good is outweighing the bad because you love this person, because you are committed to this person, because you're so fucking deep in the relationship that even when the scale starts to unbalance and things get to be more bad than they are good, you are willing to stay there in that relationship and you are willing to stay in that pain that you currently feel simply because it's a pain you're familiar with. It's a pain that brings you some solace because at least you know what to expect with this person. You may be hurting inside, you may be in a bad spot mentally, but at least it's a pain you're familiar with. And that pain you're familiar with is easier to stay in than the uncertainty of the pain you have when they leave. Because either way, you're in fucking pain. Either way, you're going through a mental battle. Either way, you're in a really bad spot in life. But being with that person who you feel understands you, or you feel you have this connection with, or you've been through so much with, it's a pain that you're familiar in being with. It's a pain that you can sit there and be like, well, at least I know what to expect. Where when you get rid of that relationship and you move on to this next chapter of your life that you have no idea what's gonna fucking come next, there's so much uncertainty in that, and sitting in uncertainty can be really fucking daunting. It can be really fucking scary, and it can feel unsafe. There were so many months where the word unsafe kept popping into my head. I was just like, I feel unsafe. But I refused to go back. I refused to allow that feeling to be the reason why I reach out, because to me, that was me settling. If I were to reach out just because I felt unsafe, or reach out just because I felt like I needed someone in that moment, I would have been settling. I would have been going back to something that no longer serves me simply out of fear of not knowing what was coming next. And that is not a good enough reason to be with somebody. That is just straight up not a good enough reason to be with somebody. To be with somebody just because you don't know if things are going to work out with this next chapter of your life, or you don't know if you'll ever find love again. And trust me, you will at the right time when you develop yourself to be able to attract the people that actually are able to properly love you. You just are scared of the uncertainty. You're scared of that feeling, and being with somebody that understands your struggles and who you have struggled with is a familiar pain. And it's easier to stay with a familiar person in a familiar pain than it is to branch out into a whole new level of pain and uncharted territory that you don't know how to navigate. But again, that's not a good enough reason to stay with somebody. And you attract the kind of people in your life that you are. I know it's so fucking cliche, but your vibe attracts your tribe. So cliche. Like it belongs on a 2012 t-shirt kind of shit. Another good one. You are who your friends are. So you attract the energies and the people in your life that you are. You attract who you are. So if you're sitting in this relationship and you guys are both fucking toxic and you're both hurting each other, it's because you're both at that low frequency. You're both similar and willing to deal with that over the idea of not being alone. And it might not be consciously the idea of not being alone, but subconsciously that's exactly what it is. And for you to attract a better partner, for you to get into a relationship that actually serves you, a relationship that's going to benefit you in your life, and a relationship full of love and prosperity, you have to be that love and prosperity first. You attract who you are. So if you stay in a relationship with a low frequency, if you stay in a relationship that is only hurting you and is not allowing you to grow, and you just feel so lost and you don't know what to do, it might be a good time to take this time to do some work on yourself and to figure out, why you are the way you are, what you want in life, and to raise your fucking frequency, because you're not going to attract that partner that knows how to love you right, that knows how to only add to your plate, that knows how to push you to be better, that pushes you to follow your dreams, to be the kind of person that you can imagine yourself being. You're not going to find that until you find it in yourself, because you attract who you are, right? So you're going to have to do the work on yourself and figure out what it is that you want and who it is you are in order to attract that kind of partner in your life that is able to love you properly. You have to love yourself properly first. And the fact that you're staying in a relationship that is toxic and that is hurting you and that has even led you to listening to this episode in specific means that you're not loving yourself properly, means that you're not seeing the value in yourself. And that just takes a little bit of work. It's not something that we are programmed as human beings to know. It is literally part of this whole journey. It is part of this growth path to be able to find your value, your worth, and to stand up for yourself. It is part of the process of just growing up. It's part of the process of becoming that person. And so if you're staying in a relationship that has a really low frequency level, you are basically putting chains on yourself. You are basically strapping yourself into your current situation. You are putting yourself in a box, and you're not going to be able to grow outside of that box and actually get to the point of sustainability in your mind and peace in your mind if you're staying with people who are at low frequencies, because misery loves fucking company. And it may not be obvious in your day-to-day life, but people who are at low frequencies want you to stay there. They don't want to see you grow. And so when you accept that behavior, when you accept that they are treating you a certain way and you decide not to leave and not to put your fucking foot down and not to draw that line in the sand, you are chaining yourself to that period of your life. You are chaining yourself to that person, to that low frequency. You are preventing yourself from ever even having the option to become better, because you are just so obsessed with this period of your life and unwilling to dive into the uncertainty. But the uncertainty, as scary as it may be, is the only way to get to where you want to get to. It is the only way to grow as a human being. It is the only way out is through. The only way out is through. So you have to be able to sit there and let yourself grieve, let yourself feel the emotions. And with that goes into the whole mourning. It is okay to love that person. It is okay to love the experiences that you had with them. It is okay to reminisce and romanticize the relationship. But you need to separate the relationship from the person. You need to separate all of those good memories from the person. They are completely fucking separate. I like to say that you never meet the same person twice. Going back on my personal experiences with my ex, the person that I was when I met my ex-boyfriend is not the person that I was when we broke up. And the person that I was when we broke up is not the person that I am today. We never meet the same person twice. So if you're thinking about running back to your ex-boyfriend because of all of these good memories that you have with him, or all of these good ideas that are perceived, they're perceived ideas, it's just the way that you see the relationship, realize and separate the relationship and the good memories from the person itself, because you never meet the same person twice. So even if you were to run back to that ex, that relationship, whatever, and you're thinking, oh, we can make it work this time it would be good. The turmoil that has happened in the relationship, the boundaries that have been crossed, the hearts that have been broken, you guys are not the same person. You're not. And so to try to go back to how things were, or to go back to a idea or this version in your head that you have of the relationship, because a lot of times things were never even fucking good to start with, right? You're just have this perceived value of good because of some dopamine hits or some ideas. You just look at the relationship good, but sometimes it wasn't really fucking good at all. And so you try to go back, you try to run back into these old patterns, you try to fix things because you love this person, but that's not the person anymore. We're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing, and with every single experience, good and bad, you develop more in your character, in your personality as an individual with every experience you have. So if you have this idea of your ex, of who they used to be or who they could be, that's another one I'll get to, who they could be. It's not that person, babe. It's a perception that you have of that person, because you never meet the same person twice. It just doesn't happen. So look back on that relationship with fond memories. I look back on the person that I was and the person my ex was, and I cherish those memories. I cherish that relationship. I would not change it for the world. I would not take back a single memory that we had together, but I would never want to go back, because even if I were to go back, he's not the same person he was when I left him. I'm not the same person that I was when he left me. And I understand that that relationship and that period of my life had some purpose for occurring. There was a reason behind it. I would never be here, sitting here talking to you right now, had that relationship not happened. And I cherished it, and I love that part of my life, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I mourn that relationship, and I look back and I love my ex-boyfriend, the version he was when I was with him. But I understand that that version is dead. That person that I love does not exist anymore. Like, literally treat it like a fucking funeral. Have a funeral if you have to. Go as extra as you have to go. But understand that that person that you were once in love with, that person that you are mourning right now and that you want to reach out to and you want to text, they're dead. They're literally dead. That person doesn't exist anywhere else other than your brain. And if they were the person that you think that they were, and the person that you're missing so much, and the person that you think you can't live without, you guys wouldn't have broken up in the first place. Okay, if you guys were truly right for each other, you wouldn't have broken up in the first place. That is definitely something that I've learned, is to cherish those memories and to value that connection that I had with them. But realize that that person that I'm missing doesn't exist. They literally don't exist. And if I were to run back and try to fit into spaces that I've outgrown and spaces that I no longer fit into, I would just be trying to make something that does not exist come back into my life. And the whole point of living is that you go through these different chapters, is that you get to experience all these different experiences, as painful or as amazing as they may be, and you cherish the experiences for the lessons that they provided you and for what they brought into your life at the time. But understand that not everything is meant to be in your life forever, and not everything is going to benefit you throughout the long run. And so that person that you're missing is fucking dead. That experience that you're missing is past. You can't bring back the dead, babe. You can't. As much as we want to, you can't bring back the dead. So let it go. Absolutely let it the fuck go. Let them go. And don't look back on that time or that person with negativity or regret or rejection or any negative thoughts like that, because that's only hurting you as well. It's only taking your mental energy to hate that person. It is so much more free to just be like, okay, well, I loved him and I loved the relationship and I loved that period of my life, but it's no longer serving me and that person's dead and I wouldn't change anything, but I will accept it for what it is and I'll accept that I'm moving on to the next chapter of my life. But when you hold that resentment, when you hold that rejection, when you hold that negative emotion, you're not hurting them. That negativity does not go through the phone and attack their life. I mean, karma's a real thing, but that's behind the scenes. You are only taking your own energy to have that negative emotion. You're only taking away from your negative energy to put that kind of negativity on them. Like all of that resentment, it really only hurts you. All of that negativity, it really only hurts you. It doesn't affect them. It's all a perception. It's all in our mind. So accept the relationship for what it was. Mourn the relationship. Mourn the death of your fucking ex and block his number and pretend he doesn't even walk the earth anymore. Because when you do that, you release their hold on you. You release that energy that you've constantly been siphoning into them. And you make more room for yourself and your growth. You make more energy to flood into your own cup. But when you're holding on to that negativity, when you're holding on to that resentment, you're just wasting your own energy. You're just wasting your own power. And whether it be in a good way or a bad way, if you're giving someone that kind of attention, you're giving them your power. And you should be flooding all your power into you. Like, they're not fucking worth it. And while you're going through this period, it's amazing time to really get to know yourself. It's an amazing time to really understand, like, what is going to make me happy? Because again, with your next relationship, let's make sure that your cup is so filled with your own well-being and with your own energy that the next man that walks into your life, woman, partner, whatever, they are going to only add to your life. They are only going to bring more joy into an already joyful life. But to find true peace, happiness, and fulfillment, that shit starts with you. That shit has 100% to do with you and 0% to do with anybody else. And so this is an excellent time for you to figure out what it is that you like. When I ended my last relationship and I was sitting in the room and probably exactly where you are today, I was really thinking about it, and my whole relationship was them. I had a codependency in my last relationship. And with that codependency, when it ended, it hurt like a bitch, of course, but I realized that I didn't even know who I was. I didn't have any hobbies other than drinking and partying. I didn't have any aspirations in life. I didn't have anything that woke me up in the morning and was like, I can't wait to do this today. I had lost myself. And you get so consumed in your relationships that you don't realize that you're not taking care of yourself because you have all of your energy on taking care of this other person or nurturing this relationship or trying to make something that's not working work. And a lot of our struggles in life come from trying to fit a puzzle piece into the wrong section of the puzzle. And we're just fucking jamming that puzzle piece in because we're like, this is the puzzle piece. And like, we swear to God, we're like, this is the one that fits in this fucking space. This is the one that has to complete the puzzle. And you're trying to jam a puzzle piece into a section of a puzzle that it just does not belong. If it were to belong in your life, if it were to be meant to be, if it were to be something that you're supposed to have in your life, you wouldn't have to put so much fucking energy into it. You wouldn't have to fight so fucking hard for something to stay in your life. It would just happen naturally. And so you need to let go of control. And there's this Grizz song that I heard a couple weeks ago that literally, yes, changed my perspective in my life. It basically says, when you realize that you had no control and you learn to let things go, it feels like you're falling, but that's when you start flying. Everything in your life that is supposed to be in your life is going to naturally flow in and out of your life. Some things flow in so gracefully, so nice, and then they flow out. But when they flow out, we don't want it to flow out because of how much greatness it brought into our life, right? So we grip onto it. We have this attachment to it. We try to force the fucking puzzle piece into a part of our life that it no longer fits. And so when you're forcing something into your life, when you're forcing that relationship to work out, when you're forcing that friendship, when you're forcing anything, it only takes more mental energy from you. It takes more effort. It takes more of everything, it fucking drains you because it's not supposed to be there. But you're able, like, we have free will. You can force things to stay and to work that just don't work. You can put the effort in. But things that are actually meant for you, things that are actually going to allow you to grow, are going to move you forward in life, are going to make you into the person that you want to be, you don't have to force them. They really just flow. Like, if it's not flowing, it's not right for you. That's the best advice that I could give you. And again, when you realize that you don't have any control in life, and you realize that, everything is leading you to something bigger, it feels like you're falling. But you have to accept that fall. You have to accept that idea that you don't have control. You have to let go of control, and that's when you start flying. Because when you are forcing things in your life that no longer serve you, that no longer fit your life, you are preventing the new things from flowing in. You're creating a barrier, you're creating a dam. And now the new exciting next chapter of your life, those new things that would have flown in, can no longer flow in because you're trying to force something that's not meant for you, that's not right for you. So you just need to trust the idea that once you let go of that control, once you let go of trying to force a relationship that does not fucking work and has brought you so much heartbreak and brought you so much pain, let go of this idea that, we're told relationships take work, and if you're not willing to put in the work, you don't care about that person. If you're not willing to fight for them, like, you have to fight for me, right? That is like something that we're told from the beginning of time when it comes to relationships. Like, if you loved me, you would fight for me. But at the same time, it's like, if you loved me right, I wouldn't have to fight. If you loved me right, I wouldn't have to fight for you. If you treated me right, and if you did the things that you were supposed to do, and you were actually a partner that was building me up and benefiting me, I wouldn't have to put so much energy into fighting for you. It's not healthy. The whole, like, when someone walks out on you and they're like, oh, but you're not going to chase me. Absolutely the fuck not. I'm not going to chase you. Grow the fuck up. Like, that is not how you love somebody properly. And you cannot, again, find somebody that loves you properly if you're not willing to love yourself properly. If you're not willing to put that boundary up and say, I'm willing to fight for you to a certain extent, but if all I'm doing here is constantly fighting a battle, that's not love. Love shouldn't feel like constantly fighting a battle. It shouldn't feel like constantly giving your energy away to somebody else. It shouldn't feel like a constant state of fear that they're going to leave, or they're going to walk out, or things aren't going to work out, or they're going to hurt you in some way. You shouldn't be in survival mode constantly. And if you're constantly in survival mode in your relationship, that's not the relationship for you, and you're trying to force something that doesn't fit. So again, like, you need to find yourself in this situation. You need to take the time to take all of that energy that you were giving to everybody else and flood it into you. Find what interests you. Find what your dream life would look like. I said it earlier, and I'm going to say it again. Think about this question. So if you were to wake up tomorrow and you had all the resources in the world, you had all of the money that you could possibly need, you had all of the connections, you had every opportunity that you could have, what would you do tomorrow? You would wake up and you would do what? And then you would go where? And you would hang out with who? Like, if nothing in this world told you no, and nothing in this world stopped you from getting what you want, and you were just like on top of the fucking world and had every single resource known to man, what would you do tomorrow? Like, would you travel? Would you go to the gym? Would you open a restaurant? Would you, like, what does your dream day look like? Because even when we get to a point of being our best selves, when we get to a point of exiting those relationships, when we get to a point of peace, fulfillment, happiness, and success, we still inherently are human beings. We still have to live our day-to-day life. We still have to, live in this world. So even if you had everything in your life and everything that you could possibly want, what would that look like? Like, what would you do tomorrow? What would happen? And now make sure that everything that you do in life and everything that you aim towards is on making that happen. And I guarantee you, when you think of your dream day and you think of how you would want to live your life day to day, it's not arguing with your fucking ex-boyfriend. I'll tell you that right now. It's not sitting in a room crying by yourself because he doesn't understand you or he started an argument over some dumb shit. Let that shit go and focus on the bigger picture of life. Focus on you and focus on what that idea in your brain looks like. Focus on what your best day looks like whether it be working on a certain career or traveling or going to concerts or whatever it may be for you, because each and every one of us will have a different answer when we answer that question. That's what the goal should be right now. We're in our 20s, we're young. You should not be focusing on making a relationship that doesn't fucking work. You should be focusing on making sure that one day you wake up to that dream life. You wake up to that idea of you that you have in your head. You wake up to living your day the way that you want to live your fucking day. That's what the goal for all of us should be. And again, with the whole we're young, realize that if you're unhappy right now and you guys are going through this turmoil and you guys are arguing all the time and you're unable to find a happiness or balance within your relationship, it's not going to get better over time. It's not going to become something that is easier to deal with over time. It's only going to get worse. If your relationship is already having turmoil right now, imagine, again, throwing in 3 kids into that mix, throwing in a mortgage, throwing in the hectics of life, throwing in a job loss, throwing in the shit that you have to deal with in life. Imagine throwing that in on top of the stress of your relationship right now. It's not worth your mental energy. It's not worth you being unhappy for the rest of your life. And I know it's like really fucking drastic, but most of marriages end in divorce. I think it's 90% of marriages before you're 30 end in divorce. And there's a clear reason for that. It's that you try to stay with somebody because you love them and you have this bond with them, and it's just something that you feel like you have owed them or something because you've gone through so much with them. But you're like unable to handle the stress of just you guys being together, which means you're going to be unable to handle the stress when life throws hard things your way. And you get to pick your path in this life. You either get to pick the hard route now and have an easy life later, or you pick the easy route now and having a hard life later. And the easy route is staying with your shitty ex-boyfriend, and the hard route later is you're really fucking unhappy and you probably end up in a divorce situation with now kids that look like him because you stayed with your shitty ex-boyfriend because that was the easier route than diving into the uncertainty of finding a new person or finding yourself. I will always advocate when you break up with your ex-boyfriend to find yourself, not to find another person. Find yourself, because that peace, that happiness that you're looking for, it can only be found within you. You cannot find it in another person. And I'll say that a million fucking times. It is within you. And you have to be able to take the hard route now of having that time by yourself and having that time to really decide who you are, what you want, and dive into the uncertainty right now in order to find a partner that is going to elevate you later. Choose the hard route now so you can have an easier, happier relationship later. You get to choose your hard. Like, I can't even express that enough. You get to choose your hard. Choose the hard route now, while it's easy to get out, while it's easy to rebuild. Not later when now you guys have built a life together and you were never even happy to start with. That's not what you should be striving for. It's just not what anybody should be striving for. And you don't even understand the happiness that you can find within yourself because you haven't tried yet, and because you haven't let go of control and let go of the idea that you don't have any control and that you can't force relationships that don't matter. And once you let go of that, there's this happiness that follows you that honestly, you don't even know what you're missing out on right now, because if you think that that's happiness in your relationship, you have no idea. You have fucking no idea, babe, because there's so much more joy in life when you find it internally within you rather than placing your value into another person. And then, like I said, most relationships end in divorce, and that's not to be negative, but it is to say that a lot of us don't pick our partners correctly. A lot of us don't pick our partners based on the long term. We pick it based off, how we feel in the moment, or the idea that we don't want to let people go. But marriage is one of the biggest investments that you could ever make. And I'll say that 1,000 times, because that is the person that is going to raise your kids. That is the person you're going to build an empire with. That is the person that you're going to spend every single day with, that you're going to do hobbies with. And if you're going to make yourself smaller to fit into a relationship that doesn't serve you, or that doesn't make you happy, or it doesn't allow you to be your most authentic and truest self and appreciate the fact that you are who you are, then you're never going to be able to find that within yourself. And you're limiting yourself into a box, a very, very small box of the opportunities that you can have in this lifetime, because you're not placing all your bets on you. Like, you should be going to the fucking poker table and putting all those chips in the center and saying, I'm all in on me. Like, all in, all or nothing, all on you. And that's when shit really starts to change. Again, it feels like you're falling, but that's when you start to fly. And again, going into like, we're really young right now, we're constantly evolving. The entire point of our 20s is that we are constantly building on ourselves. We are constantly becoming better. We are constantly changing. We're figuring out what we like, what we don't like. We're figuring out what our dreams are, what they're not, what everything is. We're getting perceptions of the world. We're building. Our 20s is a building phase in our life. And the idea is that you're constantly growing. The idea is that you're constantly evolving. You're changing. And so to think that you can change at the same rate and grow with another individual so young, I think is a little naive. And obviously there are exceptions to this rule, and don't come at me if you are like married and in a happy relationship with your high school sweetheart. That's your life choice. I'm on a different life path. But I think that to expect somebody to grow at the same rate as you, or to even find somebody that is able to grow with you, is like 1 in a million. You know what I mean? And if you're not finding someone who you feel like is growing with you and constantly pushing you to be better, then what you're doing is you're stunting your own growth. You're preventing yourself from being better. You're preventing yourself from elevating into this next chapter of your life. You're stunting your own fucking growth. And it's hard to wake up and realize that, but it's crazy to think that the same person that you are when you're 16 and who he is when he's 16 is going to be the same people you are when you're 27. Like, it's just not going to happen. And if it is happening, it's because you stunted your own growth. And now you should probably look into that, because you are probably capable of being a lot more than you are right now. And my biggest fear is wasting my potential. I have so much fucking potential. I know that. I know I think differently than a lot of people think. I know I'm a very unique individual. And at the time when I was in that relationship, I allowed myself to stunt my growth. I allowed myself to not dive into my hobbies, into my interests, into doing the things that I actually love to do, because we were both at a low frequency, and I allowed myself to stay chained to that low frequency. But you're not going to grow in a relationship that changed you to a low frequency. And you're not going to grow at the same rate as a partner at 20 years old. And so I'm a big advocate that if you're in your 20s, your young 20s, early 20s, you shouldn't be in a fucking relationship. Like, this is your time. And if you think about it, let's say your high school sweetheart works out, or your college sweetheart, and you guys are together forever and you die together. Like, let's say that hypothetical. You never ever had a period of your time in your entire life to discover things on your own terms, to figure out who you are without any, distractions. And I'm talking all of them: situationships, hookups, exes. Block them all out. You need a period of your time. You need a period in your life to just sit there by yourself. You need a period of your life to define yourself and who you are on your own terms. And so when you walk into that next relationship, you have it clearly filed out and clearly laid out for yourself. You can say, these are my values. This is who I am. This is what I want out of life. And if you fit that, then you might be the right person for me. But I'm not going to change me. I'm not going to change myself. And I'm not going to change my desires to fit somebody that doesn't fit me and who I am, simply because I like them, or I feel this connection with them, or whatever. I'm not going to make myself smaller just to fit into a relationship. And I don't think that you can get there unless you genuinely decide. And it's a hard thing to do. Again, I'm not going to tell you it's an easy thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. But you need to sit there by yourself, and you need to figure out who you are. You need to take this time, some time, whether it be 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, to be comfortable in your own skin, to be comfortable with who you are. So when you do find a new relationship, you can have a clear idea of, this is what I bring to the table. And I know that I bring things into the table, and I know my value, and this is what I bring to the table. And if you want it, awesome. And if you don't, I don't really give a fuck, because my cup is full. And so take this time. Take this as an opportunity. Don't take this as negative things happening to you. Don't take this as a awful period of your life. Take this as an opportunity to rebuild the life that you want. Because when your life completely falls apart, when your life absolutely goes into the fucking trenches, that is your opportunity to now build the life that you want. The whole house has crumbled down. You now only have the foundation. And it is going to take a while to rebuild the mansion you want. But if the first house had not been demolished, you would not have the foundation and the room to rebuild the way you want. So when your ex or your shitty person in your life or whatever walks the fuck out, take it as an opportunity that the way that you were living your life and the circumstances you were in wasn't working. It wasn't bringing you happiness. It wasn't bringing you peace. It simply was not working. And this is your opportunity now to rebuild the foundation. So when the next person tries to walk into your house, you can say, I built this shit by myself. I know my worth. I know my value. I know what I want out of life. I know what I like. This is what I bring to the table. Take it or leave it. And that just changes the way that you operate through your life, and it changes the people that enter your life, because now you're only going to get people of value. You're only going to get people who see that mansion that you built and they say, that's fucking awesome, like let's build together. You know what I mean? You're going to build better energies because you attract who you are. You attract the energies that you are. So you have to let go of those low frequencies. You have to let go of those old energies and take this as an opportunity to rebuild your life, to rebuild who you are. And like I said, to find who you are, because that's not something we inherently know. And so many of us are so insecure. We're so filled with anxiety. We're so filled with depression. And it's mainly because we're too scared to face ourselves in the mirror. We're too scared to face those demons. We're too scared to take this time in our life to be absolutely uncertain of what the next chapter is coming. And instead we fill it with distractions, whether that be relationships, drugs, alcohol, whatever. We would rather distract ourselves to suppress the anxiety and depression and whatever than to just sit in the uncertainty and allow ourselves to be like, okay, well, that last chapter didn't work out. And that last person didn't work out, and I'm not in a place where I'm happy with life right now. So what can I do to change that? And what can I do to make sure that I know who I am? Because again, like I said, we don't know who we are. It takes a period of growth. It takes being willing to do the inner work, to go inward, to figure out who you are. The only way out is in. That's a good one too. The only way out is in, babe. The only way out is in. So do the inner work. Put all of your eggs in your basket. Put all of your gambling bets all on you, and tell everybody else to fuck off. Literally tell everybody else to fuck off. It's going to be a hermit period. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a painful hermit period of your life where things just feel so lost and uncertain. But it's when you accept the fact that you don't know anything and that anything can happen tomorrow, because this world has endless possibilities. And what was in your life was great, but it's no longer serving you, and you just accept the possibility of new, better things coming into your life, you start to fly. You start to see that things can get really, really fucking good really, really fucking fast. And the universe will test you when you're in this period too. It'll test you to make sure that you actually want it, that you actually are committed to the process, and that you trust the fact that better things will come in when you let go of things that are no longer serving you. But you have to trust that. And it takes blind trust. I'm not going to fucking lie. And it'll test you. And when it tests you, acknowledge the fact that it's testing you. And what it will look like when it tests you is you'll get a text from your ex, like during the same week that you were thinking about reaching out to them. And now it's really fucking easy for you to go back into your old habits because, oh, I'm just replying, right? No, don't reply. Or you get a text from like multiple different dudes that you used to fuck with or something, and it's an option to use that as a distraction on getting over your ex. But that's the universe testing you. It's the universe literally asking you, do you actually want to find out? Do you actually want to find out how good things can get, or do you want to run back to your old patterns? And so when you acknowledge that the universe is testing you, when you see that text and you go, I'm not falling for this. I'm not falling for this trap. And you fucking turn off your phone and ignore the text messages. Slowly but surely, first off, the text messages stop coming. Thank God, right? It's easier when you're not getting those temptations to run back into your old life. But understand that it's a test. And it's not until you pass those tests that you're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel and you see the world getting better. But when he texts you, do not respond. When that person that from your past randomly hits you up, when they all do it in a span of a week, understand that that is the world testing you. It's testing to see if you're actually committed on getting to a happier spot in your life or if you're just going to run back. Do not run back. Don't let it win. Don't let yourself fail the test. And I can't express it enough that it is a test. So recognize that it's a test, acknowledge them, and realize and do your best to not fall for it. Don't respond to the text, block the number, do what you have to do, but don't allow yourself to fall back into bad patterns just because the temptation's there. Because if you really fucking want to be better, and if you really want to get to a place of happiness and fulfillment and prosperity, you're gonna have to block it out. You're gonna have to block out the noise. You're gonna have to, even if you love them, even if you care about them. I mean, you don't just stop caring about somebody, but you care about yourself more. You care about yourself more and you put yourself first. And even though it's really fucking hard and you wish they were still in your life, you show up for yourself more than you show up for them. And so you don't respond to those text messages because it's a test from the fucking world to see if you are gonna take the bait. Don't take the bait. And remember that the human spirit comes back 2 times fold. Just like going to the gym and working out. When you work out, you break your muscles down and your muscles come back 2 times stronger. And that's the whole concept of the gym. And every single part of life works like that. And understand that. So when you get heartbroken and you're at an absolute rock bottom, it fucking hurts because your heart is broken, like straight up. But your heart is a muscle, and like your actual heart is a muscle, duh, but like the concept of heart, the way that we use it, is a muscle too. Like our body, our spirit is a muscle. So when your spirit gets broken, whether it be in a relationship, a job loss, whatever it may be, it comes back 2 times harder. Or it comes back 2 times stronger. It always comes back 2 times stronger. You become a stronger human being. And think about that too. If you were going to make a strong human being, they wouldn't have the easiest life. They would have to go through shitty circumstances and overcome those circumstances. So our spirit is the same fucking way. In order to have a strong spirit, in order to have a strong sense of being, you have to go through shitty situations and overcome them and come back 2 times stronger. You know, I like to say, and I've heard other people say too, the strongest human beings in this world, the nicest human beings in this world, the people that are able to actually put themselves first and have some sense of ground on who they are, that's not luck. You know, they have probably been through the shittiest situations and the shittiest heartbreaks and the most traumatic events ever, but they don't let it define them. They don't let it bring down who they are. They don't let it change the fact that, you know, they are capable. They take those shitty situations, they overcome them, and that's what makes them such a fucking amazing person. Not that they have never gone through trauma, that they've never gone through anything, not that they have never overcome anything or they were just handed an easy life. It's that they were handed a hard life and they didn't let it define them. They didn't let those relationships crush them. They didn't fall down. Every time they fell down, they got the fuck back up. And that's what makes them so kind, so strong, so inherently amazing, is because they were able to overcome the situations that they were given. They didn't play victim to their life. They didn't allow those people that did them wrong or those situations that hurt them to make them a victim in their own life. And so if you're given these hard situations, take it with a grain of salt. Take it with an opportunity for your spirit to come back 2 times harder, because if it's not broken down, it cannot grow stronger. And it really fucking hurts. I'll say it over and over again. It is some of the hardest things that I've done have been also the things that have led me to sitting here right now. Some of the hardest things that I've overcome are also the things that have led me to sitting here right now and being able to be my most authentic and my best version of myself. Not to mention the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm alone right now. I have literally nobody in my life. I mean, I have like 2 best friends that I hardly see because I am so busy fucking working and I'm in tunnel vision. But 99% of the time, I'm by myself and I fucking love it. I've never had that comfortability with myself before. I've never had that ability to just be alone and be comfortable in it. And it's because I accepted that uncertainty and I stood on fucking business, and I am now my own best friend. I go through life happier than I've ever done, and I have a clear understanding of who I am and what I want. And it's because of all of the shitty circumstances that life has thrown my way. And there's been so fucking many. I mean, I'm talking about my ex walking out on me today, but you have no idea what I've been through. And I wouldn't take back a single experience that I've ever had. I wouldn't take back a single negative thing that's ever happened to me, because it's in the overcoming those challenges that has led me to who I am today and to being just so fucking happy with life and so at peace, because I accepted what I cannot control, and I accepted that as long as I put the effort in to get back up at the end of the day, and I put the effort in to be a better version of myself tomorrow than I was today, there's nobody in this entire world that could come and take that from me. Because my happiness is so internal right now, and because my happiness is so within me and completely has to do with me and has nothing to do with anybody else, there is simply nothing that anybody in this world could do or say that could take away what I built. And that was kind of my idea when I started this process, and when I hit that rock bottom. The idea was, I'm going to rebuild a life on my foundation that is now cleared. I'm going to rebuild a life that nobody else can ever take away from me. I'm going to rebuild something that is so sustainable on its own and so pure that it doesn't matter what energies or what the next boyfriend does or what the next person does or friend or whatever. I'm going to rebuild something that is so me and so undeniable that nobody else will ever take me off my feet the way that they once did. That I would be bulletproof, that this time I'm going to build such a strong fucking foundation that it withstands any storm, any hurricane. Like, I set out to build something that nobody could take away from me, because so many people had taken so much from me. And again, it isn't until you decide to put all of your energy into your own basket, you decide that you will no longer deal with or accept the behavior of others, or deal with people crossing your boundaries, or deal with giving your energy to people that don't fucking deserve it. And that's when you start to do the inner work and build that foundation for yourself that nobody else can ever take away. And when you have that, everybody else now in your life is only adding to your cup. They're only getting the overflow, because you fill your own cup and then you fill everybody else's cup with the overflow of your life. And it just is so much more peaceful and happy. So again, if you're in a relationship that's really shitty right now, or if you're even down bad enough that you clicked on a fucking podcast that says getting over my ex, get the fuck over them. Take all of this information and decide that you're worth it, that you are worth your energy, that you are worth everything that you have been giving them. Give it to yourself and see how that changes your life. Because again, if you're even in a place where you want to hear a podcast about getting over your ex, I can guarantee you that he's not the right person for you, and that there will be somebody else that comes into your life that actually adds to it and doesn't put you in a spot where you have to go and find the answers, you know? Like, there will be somebody that gives you so much happiness and joy in life that you don't need that validation. And if you don't find somebody that brings it into your life, you're going to bring it into yourself. And I think that's cooler. I think that's so much fucking better. It's such a better experience to be the person that brings that into my own life rather than searching for it somewhere else. So again, if you are even listening to this podcast, the chances of them being the right person for you is like zero. Like, you can do better, and don't settle in this lifetime. Do not allow yourself to settle for anybody, for any circumstance, for anything. Build the life that you want. Do not settle for anything that you did not choose. Wake up in 40 years and say, I chose this person. I chose this life. Not I settled for it, or I didn't know how to get away, or I didn't know what to do in the situation, so I stayed. Wake up in 40 years and say, everything in my life right now is a product of what I chose it to be. Do not allow any cards you're given or any people in your life to define that for you. Get the fuck up Get rid of your ex, get rid of those toxic people, get rid of anybody in your life that has low frequencies. Because again, when my ex broke up with me, that was just the eye opener of it. But I got rid of all of my fucking friends too. All my friends that were low frequency, that were holding me back, and I didn't realize it because that's who I was at the time. I was also at a low frequency, and you attract who you are. I didn't realize it. And so when my ex walked out on me, it was a big wake up call. I didn't just get rid of him. I got rid of like 99% of the people in my life. And that's what I needed to do. And I wouldn't change anything. That is the best decision that I've ever made in my life. And it goes down to the idea that, you know, if they weren't going to be there for me the way that I would be there for them, they're not worth my energy and they're not worth my time. And I refuse to just settle for a life that is given to me. I refuse to settle for shitty friends just because those are the friends that I have, or to settle for a relationship just because this is the one in front of me and I'm scared of anything else. I refuse to settle. So I tell you to make sure that in 40 years or when you're 45 or whatever, you wake up and you say, this is the life that I built. This is the partner that I chose. This is the person that I am. And not, oh, we got together at 16 or we got together at 23 and I just stayed. Like, that's not a good story. That's not the story that you want for your life. You want someone that actually adds value to you and fills your cup up and loves you properly and treats you with the same respect that you give yourself. But now you have to start the journey of learning how to give yourself that respect, of learning how to care about yourself the way that you so care about everybody else, because you're just wasting energy. Like, put it into yourself and care about yourself and love yourself the way that you love everybody else. And then the people who also love themselves will come in to your life and you guys will have overflowing cups together and be able to build a life that actually produces happiness and something that you matters. You know what I mean? Something that actually gives you what you need in this life. So don't fucking settle. Like, whether you are in a high school relationship, in a college relationship, outside of college, do not fucking settle. And if you are under the age of 30 and you are even in this podcast right now, again, you have time. You have time to build yourself up. You have time to find somebody new, and you have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring. It's an endless amount of possibilities of what can happen in this world, endless amount of possibilities of who you can randomly meet one day. But when you stay in situations that no longer serve you, you block off those opportunities. You block off those chances for a better future. You block off those chances to be a better human being. You block off those chances for better people to come in your life, and you prevent yourself from growing. So cut them the fuck off. Best advice and best thing I ever did. Cut them all the fuck off. Find that love within yourself. Just do it. I know it is probably one of the hardest things that you'll ever do in your life, but once you do it, nobody else can take it from you. Nobody else can ever come again and make you feel the way that they're making you feel right now. Ever. Because you know who the fuck you are. So wake up and figure out who the fuck you are, because you're that bitch. So do not let them, even for a second, take you off your feet or take your eye off the prize. And with that, I'm going to end this week's episode. I love you guys. And again, to the person who requested this episode, it means the world to me, because I've been doing this podcast for a while and it is literally my baby. This podcast is my project. I have put my life into it. I've put my soul into it. I've put my entire being into it. And it just means so much to me for somebody to listen to me and to actually want to hear what I'm saying and to actually reach out the way you did. So thank you again. And follow me on TikTok, RD2H Podcast, Instagram, RD2H Podcast. I make it real easy for you guys. Same thing on all platforms. And I'll have a new episode out next Tuesday. RD2H, Road to Happiness. I love you guys, and you fucking got this. Trust me, you got this. You'll get through everything that you're going through right now. And the only way out is through, and it's a struggle, but you'll get there. I love you, and bye.